On va porter des masques non-stop dans l'entreprise.
Si on tente à généraliser le télétravail, on va perdre cette dimension essentielle du travail, qui est l'ouverture sur le monde.
Je pense que le télétravail, c'est pas fait pour moi.
C'est le gros kiff, faut le dire. J'ai l'océan, la mer, au bout de la rue.
Hello and welcome to this edition of France in Focus. I'm Delano de Souza. On the show this week, we're going to talk about a reality many businesses around the world were faced with when lockdowns to limit the spread of COVID-19 were in force. Now, working from home was a concept some companies in France toyed with in the past, but were forced to implement during the lockdown. Some 40% of French workers work from home at the height of the pandemic, while many have now returned back to the workplace with new protocols in place like social distancing, masks and plexiglas in place. Opinions are divided over the efficiency of working from home versus the office.
Working from home already seems like a thing of the past in this consulting firm. At the end of April, all 20 employees were working remotely. Today, they're nearly all back in the office.
It's more pleasant being with colleagues and being able to keep your professional and personal life separate.
Human contact was one of the things people miss most while working from home. Other difficulties included an uncomfortable home office setup and ill-equipped technology, teething problems that made some opt to return to the office as soon as possible. During lockdown, 27% of employees worked from home, which went down to 15% in August, according to a YouGov survey. At this events agency, the founder is relieved to be reunited with her team.
I work with a young team. They're all between 21 and 27 years old, and they need structure. And not having it resulted in problems in the team. When you're not working alongside each other, things aren't done at the right time, or not as you expected them to be done.
Her employee, Alexis, is also very happy to be back in the office.
It's a relief. Things went well at the beginning of lockdown. We still had some work, clear goals, but over time I started to let go and lose motivation. We had no projects and no adrenaline because there were no events to organize.
Others, however, have enjoyed the change in work culture brought on by the pandemic. Before lockdown, this office was home to 60 employees. Today, its co-founder is the last person in the building. The business trains new entrepreneurs and everything is done online. For many employees, working from home during lockdown was a revelation.
The fact that some employees told us they didn't necessarily want to live in Paris anymore or that they want to work from home more made us think. So we said it's a modern, forward way of thinking and there's nothing stopping us from doing it.
After getting a taste of working from home, some have even opted to leave Paris.
It's absolutely great. I've got the sea at the end of the road.
Voilà, juste là.
Ça donne pas envie de travailler, ça?
Ah bah si.
Yes, it does. It gives me energy.
Ça donne plein d'énergie.
The head of this consulting firm has decided to end his lease. Handing in the keys will save him €3,800 per month.
You think being at the office ensures work and productivity, when actually, without an office, we will only be united by a common goal.
In 2017, only 3% of employees worked from home at least once a week. After lockdown, 40% said they would like to work remotely.
To talk more about the change in working conditions due to the coronavirus, we've come to meet Danielle Linhart, sociologist at the National Research Centre, the CNRS. Danielle Linhart, thank you very much for speaking to us here on France 24.
It's a pleasure.
Now, many French companies seem to adapt well during the lockdown, but now it seems there's a rush to get back to business as usual, get more workers back into the workplace. Why, in your opinion, are French companies so resistant to change?
Alors je pense que les directions
Well, I think that business leaders are not tempted by a full transition to working from home and want their employees to come back into the office at least partially. But only partially, because before the pandemic there were negotiations between unions and managers, and unions were calling for employees to have the option of working from home for 1 or 2 days a week. And managers were pretty resistant. But now they've seen that employees work well from home, and that it could have certain benefits, like allowing them to save money on space, on property.
Real estate, yeah.
Exactly. So the managers say, sure, why not? But then there's this distinctly French legacy that's very historic, which is that in France, the class struggle was very powerful, and the French Communist Party and the CGT Union remain a very influential entity. So heads of businesses are always scared to let employees have too much leeway and to lose control over them.
That comes to my next point, because, you know, French work culture is particular. People are judged by their presence, their physical presence in the workplace, and not necessarily always the output. Has the coronavirus lockdown changed that?
When you work from home, you still need to follow the procedures, and there are methods of control and surveillance that are transmitted through software that allow bosses to constantly monitor employees who are working from home. So the nature and content of the work don't really change. There's still this strict regimentation of workers, whether they be at the workplace or at home. And that reassures managers and makes them more inclined to broaden the practice of working from home.
Now, a lot of people have gone back into the workplace, but things are not the same. You know, people have to keep distance from each other. There's Plexiglas often between people. They have to wear masks. How is that all changing the workplace?
I think it's an additional source of anxiety that has been added to life in the workplace.
la vie dans le monde du travail. Il y a pas si longtemps.
Not long before the pandemic, lots of employees were already having a hard time. We talked a lot about burnout, work-related suicides, stress, etc. So it's something that, in my opinion, is going to worsen the working experience and increase general anxiety in the workplace.
L'anxiété généralisée sur le lieu de travail.
But were you surprised at how older segments of the population were quick to adapt as well to new technologies like Zoom and online meetings?
Ils se sont adaptés.
They did adapt, but how many times did I hear people say a meeting on Zoom is more exhausting than 3 or 4 in-person meetings? It sucks your energy. We're scared of evaluation because we're taking turns speaking. There's something more formal about it. We're asked to make a comment, we can't interrupt, so we feel subjected to the judgment of others, and that's hard to take.
And finally, you know, going back to this working from home culture, that the fact that a lot of people do work from home, how does that change office politics in a way? Because the whole point of office politics is who you know, who you're friendly with, who you go and have coffees with. But now that changes.
Well, that's terrible, because work, as all sociologists and psychologists will tell you, is extremely important because it allows you to get out of your own house, out of your own head, of your own personal problems, to open up to other things. And if everyone starts working from home, we'll lose this crucial aspect of work, which is the opening up to the world and the feeling of establishing your place in society. And it's essential to be confronted with the real world.
C'est essentiel d'être confronté au vrai monde.
Danielina, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now, the coronavirus lockdown has hit the French economy, and the government is incentivizing businesses to take on young recruits. Many of the people entering the workforce today have had their interviews done entirely online without ever meeting in person. So how do you find your place in a new organization with social distancing and no physical contact? Take a look.
In this Paris high-rise, it's the first day and the first job for these 10 new recruits. Their welcome comes with a warning.
Whether on the work site or in the office, we ask you to wear masks at all times.
After a quick tour of the office, some are feeling the stress of this new experience.
It's strange to start like this. It's stressful to work with a mask. It's just something else to think about.
We can't shake hands to say hello. We communicate with a look. We're trying to find other ways.
Recruitment was done all by video conference, a 100% digital experience. These new employees are among 750,000 young people now arriving in the workplace in France, most of whom are discovering the business world without ever setting foot inside an office. For Arthur Leguide, a 22-year-old engineer, his bedroom is his first office. He signed a work contract not expecting he would start his career alone in his room.
You have to work hard to accomplish tasks and to avoid problems, because in an office setting, someone nearby can help you. But here, I can't contact them on the video conference app every 5 minutes.
In the midst of the pandemic, most new graduates have not had the luck to be hired. That includes these students at a prestigious engineering school in Lille.
They tell you to either wait to look for a job or start now, because employers can't give you an answer right away.
For most, it's an uncharted situation. According to the school, twice as many students as usual have decided to continue their studies to delay their job search.
That's it for this edition of France in Focus. From all of us on the team, thank you very much for watching.
Salut, c'est Mika. I Love Beyrouth. C'est pas juste un concert. Il y a des guests du monde entier, il y a des créations originales et aussi des témoignages bouleversants, au profit de la reconstruction de Beyrouth.
Catch this special show on Saturday, September 19th. And don't miss our exclusive interview with Mika on France 24.
Aidez-nous à reconstruire Beyrouth.
Watch our exclusive interview with Mika on Encore on France 24 and France24.com.
Your needs are changing, and so is France24.com. With articles, reports, the latest international news, all our programmes available on replay, together with live broadcasting 24/7. Intuitive, fast, and available in 4 languages. France24.com. Liberté, égalité, actualité.